Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Swamy. Uh, Before we start, in case you are interested in AI products, ML ops, data ops, there is a very interesting session happening in hall number 1. In case you are interested in taking pictures of very nice frameworks, process algorithms, etc., there is a very interesting session happening in hall 1. This is for lesser mortals, where we do simple analytics and then focus on execution. Okay, with that out of the way, let me introduce the company that I work for. The company that I work for is pretty famous, pretty big. We are number one or number two in most of the things that we do. But there is one thing in which we are absolutely, undeniably, undisputed number one: memes. I mean, just go to Google and search ITC memes, you will have the time of your life, right? This one is my favorite from the reference, The Family Man. I think that's the name of the serial. So we thought, why should only other people have the fun? We should also get on into the fun. So the rest of this presentation is going to be some knowledge and a lot of memes. Okay, a little bit more formal introduction. ITC. I represent the analytics arm of the sales business of FMCG. 60 brands, 2 million outlets reached, and some thousands of SKUs. So many brands, it's very difficult to remember Ashirwad, Dark Fantasy, Sunfeast, etc., etc. So the easy way to summarize this is, from sutta to atta, we make everything, we sell everything. You know our brands. So as I was saying, number one or number two in most of the things that we operate in. And because we have such a huge diversified portfolio, then we have a few competitors as well. Okay, a little too many competitors. So, introduction to the company done. Let's get to the problem statement. We have 30,000 odd salesmen trying to sell those 1500 SKUs and trying to reach somewhere around 14-15 lakh outlets across India, right? It's very difficult to remember what product to sell to each outlet, what is the propensity of an outlet, etc., etc. So we said, Mr. Salesman, don't worry. We will do all the analytics and then we will tell you which products to sell to which outlet. Simple, classic recommendation problem. Okay. We also said we won't do outlet segments. Outlet segments is so 2008. We don't want to be 2000 and late. So we will do segment of one. Each outlet is one segment. So how do we do that? For each outlet, you create an outlet profile, blah, 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 blah. So some thousands of variables go into every outlet's profiling, right? So the ones on the right, the ones in white, are internal data. So for example, for every outlet, we would find out whether it is a bakery, grocery, cosmetics, what kind of an outlet is it. We would have the transaction history, what kind of products it was buying, when it was buying, etc., etc. Product characteristics, whether it is a product for health conscious people, whether it is a premium product, mass product, 5 rupees, 50 rupees, etc. Sensors for consumer demand, what kind of brand recall do we have, how much market share do we have. These are internal data points. There are external data points on the left side of the slide, yellow ones. For example, what other outlets are nearby, what are they purchasing. If there are any points of interest nearby, let's say there is an outlet near a bus stop, there may be a certain portfolio that you would want to sell to that outlet. What kind of footfalls are happening? If there are a lot of people coming to an outlet, then probably you will have to customize your recommendations based on that. And based on footfalls, if you also know what are the demographics, if there is a certain age group which is coming to an outlet, let's say near a school, then you would customize your recommendations based on that demographic profiling. Okay. So all of these thousands of variables get fed into a tree-based model. Very simple. So this is the only technical slide we have, and you may not even take a picture. You will find it anywhere on the web. typical method of model development to model deployment, data pipeline creation, etc., etc. So all of this is done. Some 85% accuracy is achieved. Very happy. Okay. So very standard and state-of-the-art MLOps and data ops practices are deployed. Completely automated process. State-of-the-art AI implementation. No manual inputs. Nothing is manual. It's perfect. No errors. Beautiful. You know I'm lying. There is no such thing as a perfect implementation. We screw up a lot. And this session is about what happens after deployment of models, not MLOps. MLOps is something else, business ops. And what actually happens? There is a lot of, so AI/ML is fine, but there is a lot of human thinking, lot of human intelligence, inputs, feedback, and improvements which go into every model. And that human cannot be ruled out. This is where I introduce you to the most important human in this loop, the salesman. Okay? You know salesmen. Salesmen, whatever industry they are in, they are motivated by their targets. So we have FMCG salesmen who take our products and go to different retail wholesale outlets, try to sell our products. Okay, Liam Neeson doesn't look like an FMCG salesman. So, hey, where's my salesman? Okay, I think that slide is not here. Anyway, ignore it. So our salesman looks a little more desi. So our salesman is most of the times he has not even gone to a college. He earns somewhere around 15,000 rupees a month. His variable is somewhere around 5,000 plus, and that variable is very largely influenced by the kind of recommendations that we are giving. Now, if we give a bad recommendation, what would happen? The poor guy will not be able to convert that recommendation, and if he does not convert, he loses out on his income. So for him, every recommendation matters. This is very different from any other, many other recommendation systems in parallel industries. Imagine Amazon, Flipkart, Netflix. What's the cost of a bad recommendation? Imagine you are on Netflix watching Stranger Things, and the next recommendation is Hum Aapke Hain Kaun. What would you do? You would just say, you will scroll. You as a consumer of the recommendation did not lose out on anything. But the salesman, not this guy, but the salesman, loses out on 500 or 1,000 rupees of his variable income, which is huge for him. Another way these recommendations are very different, or this business is very different, is because compare this, our salesman, to a hyperlocal Swiggy or Zomato or a big basket delivery executive. Their job is take product A, move from product point A to point B. That's the job. Our salesman has to do multiple things. What does he have to do? He has to go to a retail outlet, take orders, pitch new products, collect money, ensure that ITC products are displayed nicely, bingo chips are displayed in front of Lay's chips, and after doing all of that, maintain a good relationship with the retailer. So that's the life that we were trying to simplify. And when we created this recommendation model, that was our promise, that we will make your decisions a lot simpler. Now that you know our salesman, I would want you to walk a few steps in his shoes. What we are going to do right now, you and I, we are trying to do a small recommendation exercise. I will show you a retail outlet, and what you would have to do is tell me which product, if you were the salesman, which product will you sell it to that outlet. This is New Money Bunk. It's about 1.5 kilometers away from Annamalai University, Chidambaram, Tamil Nadu. Look at the picture of this outlet. think of the kind of consumers who come here. Okay, there are some newspapers, some magazines, some biscuits, etc. And now, if you were the salesman, which product will you pitch to this outlet? I will make this a little easier for you. There will be two products. Okay, Bingo chips, salt sprinkled, 10 rupees, very popular. Bingo no rules curls, corn puffs, melts in your mouth. It's baked, not fried, healthy for you, 50 rupees. Okay, raise your hands for this. Okay, good. Raise your hands for this. Wow, really aspirational. मेरा देश बदल रहा है, आगे बढ़ रहा है. Okay, obvious answer is this. No one goes to this outlet to purchase baked health-conscious products. But that's what our model did. And when it came back to us, 10 of us sitting together in a meeting, we are trying to figure out what happened. Why did we recommend that 50 rupees product to this outlet? One wise gentleman said, hey, there is an ATM. Do you see that ATM there, HDFC? And thankfully, that suggestion was very quickly shot down because the world doesn't work this way, right? I have come out of an ATM, suddenly I have cash. Now I will buy health-conscious, expensive products. The world doesn't work that way. So finally, data came in, and we found that everything was right. The model had done its job well. But there was one label. This outlet was labeled as prime. So among all the labels that a sales executive can give to an outlet, prime is the best segment or label that a sales executive can give. So given that, and that feature was so important, that the model recommended expensive SKUs to this outlet. Obviously, we said that not a model problem, it's a data problem. It has come from downstream, not my problem. Give me my salary, I'm done. So, but think about this. Think about the salesman. He has lost faith in the system, right? He's thinking that, dude, just because someone labeled an outlet as prime does not mean that I will suddenly be able to sell premium products to this outlet. Doesn't work that way. So here's a salesman who is earning his salary on our recommendations, losing faith in the systems that we are trying to build for him. We might always say that these are data problems. Master data problems exist everywhere. India is a huge country. You will have a lot of issues. I mean, how do you know whether an outlet in the border of Nepal, what kind of data do we have about it? Very difficult. So, and that's a very general response. And some consultants will come to you and say that we will make a huge master data cleanup exercise and so on. Very good. And it's something that we are also investing in. But there is another solution that we are gravitating towards. Hey, you guys have the old presentation that I had sent. Remove this and plug in the old one, new one, version 2. So while they set it up, what we are trying to do is the solution that we are gravitating towards is master data cleanup will happen, synthetic data labels will be created. What we really are thinking of is establishing faith in all the stakeholders that the system works. How do you do that? The technical term for it is explainable AI. In simple terms, we will tell people that if something went wrong, this is why it went wrong. And since there are multiple stakeholders, there is salespeople, there is supply chain, there is marketing, there is manufacturing, there are so many people involved. The relevant stakeholders, when these issues bubble up to them, they will understand how and which data points to update. Once that is taken care of, that is where the proof of the pudding lies. Solve that, data quality on all the IT projects will happen. This is problem number 2. Problem number 2 is a very popular image which is doing the rounds on social media these days. And let's be honest, it is a real problem, right? Enterprise applications suck. the interface that we provide to our users leave a lot to be desired. So by the time the technology, people may be initially excited about the technology, but by the time the technology reaches them, the excitement is gone. The application that we have made for our salesmen, it's very complicated. It was on the other slide, version 2, which we may show if possible. It's a very complicated slide. It's a very complicated application. And even if I say that compared to other industries, other peers, we have done a very good job of simplifying the UI UX, still there is a lot to be desired. And that is another thing that we are trying to solve for. So simplifying UI UX of the recommendation is a very realistic approach that you can take to solve this problem. What ITC is also trying to do is the bottom line. Continuously training users. This, we think, is way more important and way more scalable than simplifying UI and UX. This may sound counterintuitive, but hear me out. What we are trying to do is ensure that every salesman is trained on this app again and again and again. Every manager is mandated to spend time on the ground trying to iron out issues that the salesman faces, because that salesman is the face of the company. If he is not able to use your tools, then what's the whole point of it? So we as managers spend time on the ground with the salesman and help them understand the tool, or if they have issues or feedback, they will give it back to us and then we will improve. There's a very interesting observation that we had. So some of these messages or prompts to salesmen go out in local languages. So I was in Panipat, and the messages were being sent in Hindi. So the message sent to the salesman was, "Aapke vidhit salesman prakar par 20% achievement hua hai." I asked him, "Bhai, what is vidhit?" So he said, "Nahi pata, sir." I said, "Dude, I scored 95% in Hindi. I also don't know vidhit." Vidhit means your particular type of salesman. So, and once that feedback comes to us, then we again relay it back to people, that people as an application developers, that there is furthermore simplification of the recommendation that we need to do. Okay? Pretty intuitive. And now we will come to the last problem. And this is the most difficult problem to solve. It's okay, forget the slides. Priority is a very important and interesting word. The first time you would find reference of this word is around 1400s. At that time, this was singular. What is your top priority? For 500 years, priority was a singular word. Then 1900s, industrial revolution has happened, organizations have started cropping up, and then managers came in, and we said, priority doesn't cut it. We will have priorities. The bigger the organization, more priorities. So given all the priorities that we have and so many stakeholders we have, what happens is that all of us try to influence the models. Example, I am the manager of product A. My product is extremely new. It's a new launch. Please recommend my products to more outlets. I am the manager of product B. My product has very high margin. Please recommend my products to more outlets. I am the plant manager who makes product C. This time there will be a shortage. Please recommend fewer outlets. And all these stakeholders start coming in. And then people like you and I, data science people, analytics managers, we become sort of gatekeepers, night watch of the sanctity of the model. Because the moment we start letting in any of these stakeholders trying to influence our models, the models will start getting biased, right? And you don't want your models to be biased. How do you solve for that? It's very difficult to solve for this. This is a very real problem that you will face when you deploy any model. Forget recommendation, forecast model. You will do a forecast and then boss will say that thoda बढ़ा दो. What will you do? So it's not really a tech problem, cannot be solved with tech. And what we are trying to do is a complete exercise in business process re-engineering. So the solve for this is that you have a monthly plan at the extreme top level, at the CIO, not CIO, CXO level. And at the CXO level, whatever has been planned, that must be decomposable into a outlet cross salesman recommendation or a target. If there is any plan at the top which cannot be translated to an action at the bottom, then it's not a plan. If I say that my market share in noodles will become 30%, but I don't know how, I cannot attribute it to any salesman. I cannot attribute to any campaign that I will run. I will just hope that this will happen. And I will make it KPIs of a few managers, but that's where I stop. It's not translatable to a bottom level action. It's not a plan. Over the course of the time, as organizations grow and they become complex, such kind of ghost plans start coming into the lexicon of the organizations. And that is something that we are trying to, again, re-engineer and streamline. That's all that I had. 3 major problems. The human in the loop says that you have made a very nice model. So here's the interesting story. The recommendation model that I showed was built in 1 month. Data pipeline, etc., done in 2 months. So within 2 months, everything is set up. For the next 2 years, we have been scaling this up across the country. Improving again and again. The models look very different from what it looked 2 years ago. The process looks extremely different from what it used to look like 2 years ago. But that is where the money is. That is where the implementation lies. So key takeaways, the model is only as good as the data it consumes. The recommendation is only as good as the method of delivery. And the process is, and this is the most important one, the process is only as good as the discipline we instill. If we do not instill the discipline, if we do not hold the sanctity of the model close to our hearts, then people or business priorities will override it. That's all I had.